What does anxiety mean to you? How do your anxious symptoms manifest themselves? What do you do to cope with anxiety symptoms? Welcome to Normalize the Conversation. I'm your host, Francesca Reicherter, and today I'm joined by Kevin Baker, a certified life coach for teens. In this episode, I talked with Kevin about anxiety, our experiences with it manifesting in both mental and physical symptoms, and the tools we use to manage it. Kevin, thank you so much for joining me today. I am very excited for our conversation, but before we begin, I just want to check in. How are you really?
I'm well. I am a little overwhelmed and I'm a little anxious. Um, I'm trying to keep the stress levels kind of low, just sort of breathing and taking things one step at a time.
That's all we can do is take it
Yeah,
one step at a time
yeah,
and learn to
yeah.
breathe through it. It's really hard when we don't know what to do when we're starting to feel anxious. So I love that you're able to recognize it and have that awareness and things you can do, like take it one step at a time, to breathe. And a lot of people hear someone say that and they think, oh, that's what everyone says. But it really is important to break things down to literally, what can I do right now? Stop worrying about 10 steps ahead and what can I do right now? And how can I breathe through those moments so that I can get to the next moment, get to that next step?
Mhm. The tools that we can develop for ourselves that help us through any of those moments when our mind starts to go, starts to go a million miles an hour and we're worried about things, we're worried about the future. We're worried about things that have happened in the past that we have no control over. Breathing and just being and knowing that we are not our thoughts. We are uh, we are separate from them, and our thoughts, when we can control them, we can control how we feel, and we can control how we act, and we can control our results. And breathing, I think it's scientifically proven that the breath can be found as impacting all different areas of the mind. In people that there have been studies of depression. Um, the breath is present. You can actually see um, in that part of the brain when you're breathing that the breathing patterns are recognized there. So breathing helps across all aspects of our lives, and it's one of the most important things that we kind of take for granted. And there's some ways to breathe that if you practice, you can feel quite comforting in any situation, and just sort of get you through that rough patch where your mind's spiraling.
Yeah, I mean, as humans, our minds like to go 1,000 miles a minute. It's normal that we get these automatic negative thoughts, and when they feel very overwhelming, it can feel really difficult to know what to do. And taking those deep breaths is a really great start. I know that post psych ward, I was, I think, 20 at the time, I had to do neurofeedback therapy. I say had to because my dad dragged me there every day. And they put the little wires on my head and they did like the breathing belts and the heart monitor. And the whole point of it was I had to make sure that I was breathing like the 6 breaths per minute. And that would impact my heart rate and my
Mhm.
brain and how fast it was going. So we noticed when I was able to calm and control my breath, I was also able to kind of calm down and focus on what was happening in front of me. And that's something I wish I knew earlier because I was a very, very anxious child and teenager. There were a lot of moments where I ended up in the hospital convinced I was having a heart attack. And no one, first of all, no one talked about anxiety. Why?
Mm.
I don't know. No one talked about anxiety and no one talked about the importance of actually taking deep breaths and not just saying, oh, breathe. But how do we
Mhm.
actually learn to take deep breaths so that
Mhm.
I could catch my breath, that I could calm my brain down and regain some sense of control in the moment?
Mhm. Yeah, and then the science behind it. As far as taking deep breaths in through the nose, actually inflate your lungs in such a way that the transfer of oxygen into your bloodstream happens more efficiently. And then when you're exhaling, if you breathe hard through pursed lips, it slows your heart rate down. And it's scientifically proven that if someone breathes like that for 5, you're proven to be happier, in just the way that you breathe. And it's such a simple thing, and we can do it without anybody actually realizing that we're doing it
Yeah.
too, which is great.
It is such a simple thing that we often overlook, and what I love about it is I remember learning about coping skills for the first time and not understanding what they were, and in the beginning, making it all tangible things that I had to do. So a big thing was coloring. That just really helped keep my hands busy, keep my mind busy, and I would color affirmations and just encouraging
Love
words
that.
and pictures.
Yeah.
That really helped me. But then suddenly I wasn't home in a controlled environment with paper and coloring pencils and crayons and everything in front of me, and I didn't know what to do. And breathing is the one thing you can do no matter where you are and who you're with. You don't need anything else. So it wasn't that I needed to call someone and that required them answering. It wasn't that I needed to have tools handy. It wasn't that I needed to be in an environment where I could go outside for a walk, but it was raining or I was somewhere where I couldn't leave. When I finally learned that breathing was just something I could do and breathing the right way, learning that I was not breathing properly at all, it really made such an impact.
Yeah, and it's something you can practice and focus on, and we strive to get better at, which can be fun. And so, I've learned just recently, when I start to feel anxious, I feel like a numbness in my index finger, and it's very strange. Um, and so when I feel that, like I'm aware that, like, oh, I'm anxious about this meeting, that I have to have, or this podcast that I'm going to do, or whatever it is, and that's like my trigger to start breathing. And so when I feel that, that's my sign that just you need to chill out.
I love that
Just
you were
start breathing
able
and don't let the thoughts get in the way.
yeah, I love that you're able to find that tool that or not the tool, but that, like, piece of self-awareness, like, this is what's happening. I know it's really difficult when you don't know the triggers and the warning signs, and then it just goes from, "I swear I was fine a minute ago," and then all of a sudden I feel like I can't catch my breath, and
Hot,
although
yeah, like heart's
right?
racing, yeah,
Yes.
all that,
You're like, "There
yeah,
was no warning."
no
And
warning, yeah,
it may feel like there was no warning, and there may not have been, but sometimes we are able to catch those kind of beginning warning signs, and maybe it can't prevent it, but it can help us start breathing like preemptively or coping preemptively or doing something before it gets really bad to help manage it a bit.
yeah. And knowing that, a lot of the time, the thought that you had that is inducing the anxiety is just that, it's just a thought. So,
Yeah.
like, what's the thing that changed between 5 minutes ago and now? It's just the thought that you had. So, change that thought, and then, spin it more positively, or, you actually don't have too many things to do right now, or, you don't have to get back to that person right now, or, you know what, this meeting is going to be a piece of cake, and just like calm yourself, and know that, the only thing that's really changed between now and 5 minutes ago was the way you're thinking about it. So to be aware of that, and then to just adjust your thoughts accordingly, and yeah, breathing through it, helps, because a lot of the thoughts, it's only 15 seconds. You just need to get through 15 seconds, and then you're on to another one. So, things change.
That's so true. I'm a big my last year. So every year I come up with like a thing I'm gonna work on. And
Mm,
last year was really focused on negative thoughts. This year's boundaries, but last year was negative thoughts. So
mhm.
I was focused a lot on being able to recognize them and what they actually like, what the purpose of them is, how I can reframe them, but also what can I do. So if I notice I was thinking, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough time, I am worried about being able to get everything done that I set out for. So instead, I'm going to prioritize what I can. And what I actually need is maybe a schedule or some time management tools. So being able to recognize what those thought is, when it's happening, what it actually means to me, how I can change the way I'm thinking about it, and what's a tool, a tangible tool that I can create or use to actually help work through that fear. Because for me, mine are usually like, I don't have enough time. The world is ending. I'm going to fail. I don't know what to do. Like, it's all
Mhm.
over. I go from everything's perfectly okay in this moment to I failed and the world ended and that's it. And people say to me, like, oh, well, what happens if that does happen? The world's not genuinely going to end. I'm like, but in my mind, it has
Mm,
ended and I can't like catch my breath. So I've noticed,
mm.
I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but the
No, it's
whole
good.
point
I
of
love
it
it.
was that I noticed that these were like the repetitive thought patterns that I was having. And there were small ways to recognize what they actually mean to me and something I can do to help not just counter the thought, but make it more productive. So the not enough time. Okay, so let's work on time management. I'm going to fail. Okay, let's make some actionable goals and
Yeah.
small steps that we can do so that we don't feel like we're failing every day, even if it's just checking off our list. So finding those things I could do to help manage the end of the world thoughts that my brain was experiencing every day.
Yeah, and it sounds like, a lot of those thoughts that you have, are just like helping you gain some clarity on
Yeah.
how to approach whatever situation you're faced with. So if you have that thought, like I don't have enough time, maybe that's just your subconscious, telling you that look tool, that you have, or how can I? So now that I'm aware that I'm having that thought, like you said, how can I fix that? How can I leverage my Google Calendar, to make sure that I have enough time, fit in what I need during the day, fit in that block of exercise, like fit in that, meditation time, and, put it in there, to make sure you have what you need. Um, put that in there first. But the
Yeah.
world is, yeah, it's not going to end. You're going to be okay.
Every time I have an exam, I'm like, the world is going to end if I don't get 100. My teacher's like, unfortunately, the world does not revolve around you. I'm like, yet to be proven. We will see. I could.
It's so funny, the things that we put so much weight on in our lives, that are, really so insignificant,
Yeah.
and honestly, it's all learning moments. Like there's no failure. It's only failure if you don't take the lesson and learn from it, and do better on the next one. So every failure is an opportunity to learn and to do better and to make yourself better. So I welcome that stuff. If you're not failing, like you're not trying hard enough.
That's true. My dad says that to me a lot that you have to get comfortable with failing, with not being perfect, with making
Yeah,
mistakes.
you gotta love failure. You gotta break it.
Yeah.
Break it so that you can figure out how it works and how to make it better, and always try to fail, because then you're reaching for the stars. Like if you don't fall, then you're not stretching your limits.
Yeah, that's really true. And then this kind of, I think for me, a lot of that fear of failing in kind of every aspect, whether it's school or being an adult or in career or with my grandmother, like all these different things that I could fail at. That fear
Mm,
really came from, I want to say, like I remember I did not do well on one spelling test or vocabulary testing. And I was like one of the very few times I got an F. And I got in trouble for failing because, like parents, they don't mean to, like, they want you to do well. And what I took from that is failing is bad. Failing means you're going to get in trouble. You can't fail. You have to be perfect all the time. And did I take it a little bit what they were saying and maybe go up a little bit more? Yes. But also the way they said it to me gave me this sense of innate fear of this is wrong. I was bad. I need to be perfect so that I am good enough and loved and so it became from a young age a small message of make sure you're studying for your test because of the way it was presented turned into me being 25 years old and convinced every single day that I'm going to fail and the world's going to
mm,
end.
mm. Yeah, isn't that so funny how our perceptions are shaped, at a very young age, by these little events that happen that have a lasting impression on us. Um, they say, it's teachers, parents, teachers, and preachers, that give us our inputs into our computer, at the young ages all the way up until, geez, I mean, it still happens, but, up until the age of, uh, 12, 13, when you're, sort of gathering all of your input on how the world works, and just the littlest thing can shift your mindset from uh, I tried really hard. I got a few wrong. I didn't get the best score, but I tried really hard, and now I'm going to study all these words that I did get wrong, and now I'm going to master them and be successful on the next one. Who I got a few wrong and I failed. I'm so bad. I'm so stupid, or whatever you're telling yourself. Um, but it's I had a situation. I can remember it as clear as day. I think I was in second grade. I was probably 8 years old. I went to a Catholic school in New York, and I think the priest asked me, what did I want to be when I grew up? And I said, well, I want to be a professional baseball player. And his answer is, he looked at me and said, you'll never be good enough. And like that thought, that limiting statement, that he made to me stuck with me, not just throughout, like the baseball career of my life, but through like everything, like academically, like socially, like everything. You could say, I'll never be good at, making friends, or I'll never be good at, uh, you know, doing podcasts, or I'll never be good at, whatever it might be. So, it's really important when you're talking to a young mind to choose your words carefully, and to make sure the inputs that we're giving are empowering and not limiting. And the correct thing to probably would say, with practice, you can do it. With practice, you will be good enough. Hey, if you fail, that's okay. Learn from the mistake and just do better on the next one.
Words matter. Words matter
Words
so
matter.
much,
Yeah.
and
And
especially at
and
a
when
young
when
age.
you're that age, you're with the definition of words like success, or happiness, or fulfillment. They mean different things to different people.
Yeah,
Like to you, success might mean make $1 million a year, and have a house with a white picket fence, and the whole thing. But for me, success means to be happy. And so, come to terms with those definitions is another part of the process.
it is, and I cannot believe he said that to you. You'll never be good enough, because
Yeah,
these are the messages that we put into kids' minds. They don't wake up and think at 5 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, all of a sudden, I'm not good enough. That message was planted in their head at some point.
yeah,
And when we know this, we know that there's messages being kids are getting, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, maybe from watching TV and TV shows, and things that maybe they make a joke about and it's funny is not actually very funny. And it's hurting people's self worth and view of themselves. We know that
yeah,
this is happening, and yet we're just not going to ever put this into our education curriculum. Some kind of, let's give them some tools.
yeah,
If I had to learn calculus, I wish that I also could have learned. Not saying that calculus isn't important. I haven't used it yet, but it could be one day. However, it would have been great to also learn, maybe in 30-minute seminar a couple times a
mm,
year, different things I could do to care for myself, like
mm,
breathing practices. Instead of seeing like these extracurriculars, like the art classes get cut and music classes get cut, which is all learning different ways to
mm,
express yourself and what you
yeah,
can do when you're feeling sad and how it makes you feel happy. We love to cut those programs and then
mm,
just why aren't we giving kids tools that they need to overcome life stressors when we
yeah,
know that we're creating these stressors? A lot of them we're creating for them.
yeah, 100%. I mean, I think incorporating, something, incorporating into, a public school curriculum where, kids have a chance to take a holistic look, at their lives, and start to think about some of the limiting beliefs that they have in place, whether you want to call them negative thoughts, or deconstructive thoughts, or limiting, or you know uh, uh, thoughts that hold you back. Like I when I'm talking with kiddos, it's there's an invisible wall, and you can see the finish line, but there's an invisible barrier that's there that you can't get through because you have a thought about it that's in your subconscious. and you don't even know it's there. Like you don't even know you're having it, but it's in the back of your mind. So some of the things that we do to build that awareness, and to quiet the noise and understand, what thoughts are rattling around in our head due to all the inputs we've had over the years, and which ones are holding us back, which ones are the negative, limiting, deconstructive thoughts, and how do we change those into more positive, empowering, and constructive thoughts that can help us break through that invisible barrier, and reach the goal. And when you can do that, you're kind of limitless, and you could pretty much do whatever you can think of. But it's just getting to that point to where you can, get the chains off your ankles and just, get rid of those negative thoughts and keep going.
Imagine if the messaging we were giving children and teens at younger age wasn't just, "Oh, get over it, be confident, big girls don't cry, you're acting like a baby, you're acting like a girl." Whatever these messages we love to throw at them, what if instead we said, "Okay, why is that impacting you? Let's talk about it. How is that making you feel? What is something that we can do to help you feel better? What
Mhm.
is something that can help you get through this moment? How can we rewrite that thought?" What if there was
Yeah,
just some kind of conversation instead of saying, "Oh my God, you're looking for attention, you're dramatic, get over it."
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's do it. Let's put it together, you and I. Let's get it out there. I'm ready. I'm
Same,
ready to
because
go. Yeah.
it's so frustrating. Because when I look back at my own journey, I can see all those moments of, "Oh my goodness, what if someone validated me at this point? What if
Mm.
someone said, instead of saying you're dramatic, you're looking for attention, oh my goodness, that must be really scary that you feel like you can't catch your breath and your heart is racing and you're in so much pain. Let's talk about it. What's
Yeah.
going on?" And maybe
Yeah.
asking me about my day, what's happening at school, what's happening at cheer practice, and maybe start to unravel that it's
Yeah.
physical symptoms manifesting from anxiety and I'm not just trying to get out of a math test.
Mm. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, all that stuff, you're right. You're right. I mean, those feelings, those emotions manifest themselves and come out in all sorts of different ways, and everybody's different. My anxiety, I have like numbness in my index finger. Your anxiety, like you might cry. I don't know. I don't know what you do, but everybody's different. And I think what we could do, if you want to take it a step further, is have a real serious conversation about, this is how the brain works. And when you get input from your senses, whether it's sight, smell, taste, feel, what something you hear, every time you get input from your senses, it causes an emotion. And to be able to realize, like, oh, that thing made me feel happy or sad or mad or angry or overwhelmed or frustrated or um, aggressive or interested or bored or whatever the feeling is that you get, to be able to process that emotion, without too much, without too much care about it, because it'll pass. But to have that emotion pass, and then to be able to use the smart part of your brain, the frontal cortex that actually makes reasoned, smart decisions, and then respond to whatever that input was that you had through your senses. So to not let the emotions overtake us. So that thing that just made you feel frustrated, okay, that's normal. If I can't get the thing I want, I can't do the thing I want. Like that's kind of frustrating, and it's normal to feel frustrated. But what can we do to move forward and make it better, and adjust the situation so that we can achieve our ultimate goal?
Yeah, normalize it.
Those types of things, I think it really helped.
It really does. And normalizing emotions and our reactions that, like you said, it's normal to feel frustrated when something doesn't work out the way you expected. And there's this, a lot of emotions have negative connotations, right? And this is bad, this is bad. But even though they might not be the most fun and exciting emotions to feel, they're real emotions that we feel as human beings. And when we're able to identify them, we can not identify, we can create a behavioral response that helps
Mm.
us move through them and move forward instead of getting really stuck in them. I know for me, like the frustrated one, for example, when I felt really frustrated as a kid, I would just break down and cry because I didn't know what to do and everything was overwhelming. And that was the end for me. Still sometimes cry and freak out and have to call my dad and have him convince me that the world has not ended yet. But on the good days, I've learned that, okay, I'm feeling frustrated. Something that really helps is one, if I'm can't go anywhere, taking some deep breaths. If I can go outside, getting outside and just walking and moving my body a little bit. Or maybe playing a Taylor Swift song and dancing
Yeah,
it out.
everybody's
Just
got to have that
doing,
playlist like ready
right?
to go. Yeah.
So just doing those small things that I recognize this is the emotion, this helps me kind of work through it is really great rather than being at that point where it was just the world's ending and I'm gonna cry, which is valid if you think the world's ending to cry. But
Mhm.
also being able to move through it so that I wasn't stuck crying for X amount of hours until I wore myself down and then fell asleep. And then woke up with my eyes all puffy because I literally cried till I fell asleep. Wasn't very helpful.
Yeah, they really are. What's your favorite tool to use when you're getting overwhelmed and frustrated?
Hmm. So I would say genuinely my favorite tool is currently right now playing tennis because I like to hit things. And it's not always very easy to just all of a sudden get to the court and start hitting
Mhm.
things. And if you play with someone else, they don't like it when you get aggressive and just start hitting it as hard as you can at them, or you're just hitting it out every time and they can't return it.
Yeah.
But I really just like to be active and hit things. So tennis. I
Yeah.
did my first like boxing class on Monday, so that
Oh,
might be the
nice.
new thing.
Yeah, I love
But
that.
yeah, hitting
You can
things
get a little speed
healthy.
bag in your basement and just,
Yeah,
do the thing and
punching
yeah, perfect. Yeah.
in in a healthy, safe way that does not hurt anyone. I enjoy
Right. That's right.
hitting the tennis ball or the bag.
Mhm. Perfect. Well, that's great. That's
What's your
great. Right.
favorite tool?
I just like to exercise. I like to do like yoga. I think yoga is my favorite tool because it incorporates breathing with the movement and allows me to like just get in a different headspace and like leave everything at the door when I get in the studio and just focus on me and breathing and moving and then not thinking about too much.
Yeah,
And then afterwards, it's a very therapeutic thing, and so I float the rest of the day. It's really nice, calming.
I'm taking my first yoga class in years tomorrow morning. I'm so
Mm,
excited. I was thinking
awesome.
about how I need something that's as much as I love the aggressive sport where I get to hit
Mm,
something, shouldn't be going into it just because I want to hit something. I'm working on that. But gotta do what you gotta do. So
yeah,
I was what's some way that I can also release some energy and feel energized to start my day
yeah.
because it's raining in Florida all the time and the courts are all outdoors and I haven't been able to go much.
Mhm,
So plan B. I am trying yoga tomorrow
awesome.
again and I hope that I'm excited. Hopefully I am able to calm my breath and relax. That would be nice.
Yeah, just relax and just breathe and just do the movements and hopefully you have a good instructor that can give you those cues on what to do so you don't get all twisted and tangled and all that stuff. But yeah, it's a great practice and I highly recommend it for
Yeah.
mindfulness,
It's
as well
really
as
great.
exercise.
It's
Yeah.
really great to find tools that bring you into the present moment because
Hmm.
when anxiety is a lot about the future, it's a lot
Mm,
about racing thoughts for tomorrow or next week or next year or
hmm.
10 minutes from now. It's these racing thoughts typically about the future. So to be
Yeah.
able to do some mindfulness and get you back into that grounding of
Mm,
here I am right now in the present moment, I am safe can
hmm.
really help bring you to that moment of now what can I do? Now that I know that I'm physically safe, what can I do to take that next
Hmm.
step forward?
Yeah. Yeah. And getting back to like, the anxiety and, worrying about the future and, thinking about, all the things you have to do, that scheduling tool, like the Google Calendar, can help you eliminate all that worry because, if it's something that you have to do next week, that you're worrying about, well, that's great. Just put it on your calendar for next week and worry about it when it's time to think about it. Don't worry about it now because it's actually not time. Like if you have to do some pre-planning, like that's okay. Put that pre-planning hour in your calendar for the end of this week. But do it then. Don't worry about it now. Don't let it consume. Don't let it take you out of the present moment. Worrying about something that you're going to be fine at. You just need to make sure it's in your calendar later, or put it on sooner. If you're that worried about it, or make some phone calls to friends and see what they think about it. But there's a bunch of ways to work through the anxiety of worrying about the future. But when we when we try and guess what's going to happen in the future, that just breeds anxiety. That, and avoiding situations that we know we have to confront, and the longer we wait, the larger the anxiety gets.
Yeah.
So that tool of seizing the moment and like not thinking twice and just like making that phone call or sending that email or just like doing the thing you need to do that you're worried about doing, like that's the thing you have to do. And once you do it, it's gonna be fine. Like you could procrastinate on that for months and worry about it the whole time, or you could just take the 5 minutes now and do it and then not worry about it for the next 2 months. So it's all about how we approach things, and how we seize the moment, and just do the hard thing. Do that thing that you have on your mind that you don't want to do. That's the thing you just have to do. So just do it, and then you'll be done, and you move on.
I read an article recently. I think it was in the Harvard Business Review, but don't quote me on it. And it said something about how you should always start your day with what's causing you like the most stress, or the task you
Mm.
really don't want to do. That way you get it out of the way, and everything else you have to look forward to. So once this
Mhm.
is done, I now have a million things I get to look forward to end my day. And my one teacher, last semester, my favorite teacher ever, she said, always schedule your favorite client at the end of the day. That
Mm.
way you always end with something that you look forward to and that leaves you on a happy note.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting to me because I totally would have done my life opposite. I would have been like, let me start my day with something that makes me so happy and push the stressful thing down all the way to the end. So that way I'm stressed all day and then I finally get through it and I am completely exhausted. All that built up anxiety that could have been relieved had I started with the tough thing. And then it wasn't as scary getting through the day. It's exciting.
Yeah, that's perfect. That reminds me of someone once told me, like, eat frogs early, because if you eat a frog early in the morning, like the rest of your day, everything's gonna be better. So like doing the hard thing early in the morning, the thing that was, like you said, like taking your attention and causing you the anxiety. It was actually so. It was, I think, Mark Twain said it. If it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. Uh, and if it's your job to eat two frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first, um, because the rest of your day will be so much better. But
It'll make
yes,
it better
Harvard
for
Harvard
you.
probably Harvard probably said it better. But Mark Twain, I think he's the OG on that
It's so amazing how when we shift our mindset to let me start with instead of let me end with, let me push it off. I live by my Google Calendar
one.
and I put every single thing on it. My friends get really mad. I'm like, schedule it on my calendar.
Mm-hmm.
But I do, and my assignment. So I'm doing my master's right now, and I will lie to myself on the due date. I will lie to myself by a week or two. That
Pushing.
way, yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
way, even if I'm going to stress myself out, I have to do it earlier than a point where I'm stressed out the night before, freaking out.
Cramming. Yeah.
So even if I decide to cram and it's 2 weeks before, I can breathe knowing that I do still have tomorrow and I'm just going to
Mm.
knock it out now. Usually I'm the person who will start an assignment like a month or two before. As soon as I have like the guidelines and it's there and it's done. But just learning to schedule my calendar and lie to myself in a healthy way, lie to myself that maybe this is due a little bit earlier. So that way I don't end up in that position of that extra stress, or lie to myself and say, maybe I don't have time for 3 meetings today. And technically on the calendar, could I have squeezed in 3 meetings and been really stressed? Yeah. But
Yeah.
if I
Of
tell
course.
myself I only actually have time for one meeting and then I have time to go for a quick walk and then get actual work done so that I feel better later, was that a healthy lie? Yeah. So finding
Yeah.
ways that I can I hate being like, I'm gonna lie to myself. But the ways I convince myself, I don't know, I can't come back from that.
No, I wouldn't call it lie. I would call it developing, successful habits that work for you.
Love that.
That's the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people are the habits, that we develop. And if you can, take a bad habit and replace it with a good one of procrastinating versus scheduling it early, well, then that's like a win-win.
Yeah.
you know and so I love that you're aware of your own, how your mind works and how you like to schedule and probably overbook because you're an overachiever, and we're type A personalities. But yeah, people that are go-getters have to be careful about overscheduling, and parents have to be careful about that with their kids, and instilling that in them. Like, you don't need to do the, 4 soccer games and 2 baseball games and the birthday parties and you don't have to do everything. You know,
Not
it's
every
um, it's important. Take time.
not every minute of your day has to be accounted for.
Mm,
That's something that I
right.
wish I was taught when I was younger,
Mm,
that it's okay to have gaps in your schedule and you can choose what you want to do with those gaps. It doesn't have to be, I finish school, get my homework done, go to practice, go to bed. It
yeah.
can be, I finish school and I do something that I enjoy, and then I go to practice, and then, well, I guess you shouldn't do homework late at night. I don't know how it should have been, but I should have had, it should not have been back to back to back to back every day.
Right. Yeah.
And I know that that was my parents trying to like keep me busy so that I was
Mm,
behaving and doing all the right things, never giving
mm,
your child a chance to misbehave or learn to misbehave. So I get why they did it. However, parents, if you're listening, which you're not, but if you were, it's really important that we allow ourselves and them too now and me today to have that space where we don't have to have everything scheduled. We can have a break on our calendar for an hour, and that does not make us lazy or unproductive. That just means that we have some
no.
time to do something for
Yeah.
ourselves or work on something that maybe just popped up that day that we're excited about.
Right. Right. And that's the thing is, maybe it's also not taught that self-care and taking that hour to do something for yourself. I think self-care is often seen as like selfish, right? Like, oh, that person's like, taking care of themselves for the hour and they're, avoiding their family, or, they're not taking care of this other thing they could be working on, or they have a hole in their schedule. They must not be, maybe they don't have to work all the time, or whatever the judgment is, that people give. Self-care is like the most selfless thing that you can do, because when you're at the top of your game, like, I know people talk about, when your cup is full, that's when you can help other people. But if you don't take that hour, to go for that walk, or journal, or do the yoga, whatever it is, that's going to help you fill your cup up, then you're not going to be in the best mindset to help other people around you. So, putting that time in for self-care, that's like the first thing I put in my calendar. Every like Sunday night, I'll do my calendar for the whole week, and the self-care part goes in first. Because it's easy to overlook. It's easy to say, "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow," because it's just you, you know, but you can't do that. Because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to help people.
Yeah,
So,
it's so true. Making time to care for ourselves and self care is
yeah.
often seen really selfish. And I think that part of that comes from this misconception that self-care is just doing a face mask and a bubble bath and going shopping,
Mm,
right? And
mm,
self-care is all about intention. It's what we're doing for ourselves and how we're
mm,
making
yeah.
space for ourselves. And that was something I was really, really bad at. I would just work all night, work all day, do anything I
Mm,
could to be
yeah.
productive. 'Cause that's what I thought life was, all about nonstop. And acting like this is like something I've learned for a long time. This is like
Mm,
recently I've decided to start changing my habits as of
mm.
like Monday. So
Cool.
it's new.
Awesome. Yeah.
But
Love it.
it's so I've decided to do small things like one, I put my phone on do not disturb from I think it's 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. and I can't access any of the apps. All the apps are shut down. The only people who can text or call me are my parents and my grandmother. Anything else can wait till tomorrow. Oh, and my brother. He's on there. So anything else can wait till tomorrow. I don't need to be playing on my phone instead of going to sleep. My body
Right.
needs sleep. I need to start learning to care for my body in that way. Also in the mornings, I keep my calendar now open until after 10 a.m. So when I'm up at 6:37, I have a few hours to journal or go for a walk or go to yoga or just not stress and do something that I want to do. Or maybe I start working earlier and I do something that's really exciting that I didn't actually have on my schedule yet because
Mhm.
I have this free time.
Yeah,
So learning that there were ways I could start changing habits. It's what, day 3? So we'll see
that's
how
great.
long it takes
Yeah, it
to
only
build
takes
that
3
habit.
weeks. Once you get 3 weeks, just power through it. After 3 weeks, it'll be like, no problem.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
so
hope I make it
it'll
3
be a real
weeks.
habit. Oh, you will. Just call me. You have my number. If you have trouble, just call me and we'll work it out. We'll figure it out
Like,
for you.
I'm not sleeping anymore. I'm working all night. It all went downhill after this.
Yeah. No, and I would say that there's a bunch of things you can do to, if you're having a lot of thoughts, and you can't sleep or your mind's racing, there's always something that you can do to calm it, calm
Yeah,
it
I
down.
keep my
And I was just gonna say, like, a lot of, so we talk about self-care, like, going to the gym, right, or doing yoga, but there's also a whole part, it's with the mind, and trying to create new neural pathways, for some of the negative limiting beliefs that we've had. We can change that and we can reprogram that. And it doesn't take that long to do that either. But it's a series of breathing techniques and what we say to ourselves that can take those limiting, negative, deconstructive thoughts that we have and totally shift them so that we believe that we can do the thing that we want to do, and then we go and achieve it. And that takes time too. Like, that's a part of self care.
eh,
Um, so doing the mental reps, at the gym, but you just do it in your head, and it can help to change your mind.
it really can. I now keep a journal or like a workbook next to my bed. So if I do
Mhm.
wake up with like all these thoughts of things I need to do and I'm convinced I have to give up sleep and just start doing them now, that way
Yeah.
I just write it down and then I'll do it in the morning or
What are some of
tomorrow.
those thoughts you have when you're
Some
going
of
to
those
bed?
thoughts. Well, one of them is so in May I did like this partnership with the National Federation of Families for Encouragement Cards. So this is like a silly thought to have at 2 a.m. Yet to me it's like, oh my goodness, I need to get up and start working on this. And we collected messages and now we have to turn them into cards. And by we, I mean mainly me. So now I have couple hundred messages that need to be turned into cards and work on it for like half an hour a day, add it to my calendar. But then at 2 a.m., I'm like, oh my goodness, this should be done by now. It's already almost the end of June. Why have I not finished? I need to get up and finish this right now.
Mm.
Or maybe like if an exam is coming up and I'm stressed out about studying, I'm like, 1 a.m. I should just get up and study for like another hour, then I'll go back to bed. Like I'll convince
Mm.
myself that that's the answer, and then 3 hours later and a couple cups of coffee, I'm like, I'm so tired. I just want to
Yeah.
cry now. I don't want to go take that exam. Yeah, those are
So could you have just like woken up and put in your Google Calendar for tomorrow and then blocked out the time and be like, oh,
well,
it's handled.
I could have, but now that I shut off my apps,
Okay.
I have to have that journal there. So that journal's not there,
Got it.
all going away.
Yeah.
I'm setting
That's
myself up for failure, but it's
Make the Google Calendar work for you.
that's
Just
a good idea.
turn that app back on.
Yeah, and one thing that I've learned too, I keep saying I learned as if this has been like a real thing. It's been three
Yeah.
days. However, one
It's
thing
good.
that
You're
I
learning.
am
Yeah.
learning is I don't have to be available 24/7 to
Mm.
everyone. And that's why
Mhm.
like shutting my phone off and the
Yeah.
apps down really helps. But even my email. So instead of checking my email every single time a notification comes through,
Mm.
I now check it maybe 3 times a day in the morning, around lunch, and dinner. And then anything else,
Yeah.
I can wait till the morning. I don't have to
Right
get
away.
back to everyone right away. I can wait till the morning. It's
Mhm.
usually I wish I was so important that my emails were like dire, but they're not. So usually my emails can wait till the next morning. They could even wait a day or two if need be. I don't have to be so focused on responding to everyone that I don't take care of myself, that I don't sleep, that I don't get done what I need to get done, that I push everything aside so that someone else could send me an email that I think I need to respond. Okay, thanks to.
Yeah. No,
Unnecessary response, and it's not priority at this point in time.
right. Yeah, there's so much of that, because we're able to, because we have the information. As the information superhighway is coming at us all the time. There's always something we could do. There's no lack of things to do. There's no there's no shortage of hard work, especially in this world of trying to help people um get over or get through or deal with mental health stuff. There's no shortage of stuff we could do. But setting those limits and setting those boundaries, it's really important, because no one on their no one on their deathbed ever said, like, I should have spent more time in the office.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
it's like, oh, I should have answered that email an hour earlier.
that email, that one email from that person, that one of the thing I wanted to say thank you. Yeah.
Please just say, okay, thanks. I never got
Yeah.
to.
Right.
I
It's
wish,
okay. They know you're thankful. Yeah.
I just wish that these were the things I was taught before
Mm,
they became kind of like bad habits for me. I wish
mm,
that I was taught that it was okay to set boundaries, that it was okay to set a boundary with myself and with technology and with social media, that I don't need to have my notifications on and check 10,000 times a day of who liked
mm,
my post and if anyone commented. It's
mm,
not it's not the main point of my day. It does not need to be all I'm focused on. I'm allowed to not respond to someone's DM. If I open my cousins like to say, they're younger than me, so I'm learning from them. Um, but they get mad if someone leaves them on red because if someone sees their Snapchat and opens it, they have to answer. And that's a mindset that we're kind of taught. We have to respond to people all the time. And as soon as they send it, we need to be ready. And I wish that was not the messaging that I had kind of taken in. And instead, the messaging was focus on you and then do what you can for others. But you and what you need is important too, and not to just sacrifice yourself at every single second of the day to be accessible 24/7 to someone else.
mm. Yeah. Just because the technology's there doesn't mean we have to utilize it.
I've turned all my notifications off too. I'm like, I don't want to know when someone emails me. I don't want to know when
Yeah.
I get an Instagram notification. I don't want to know
Yeah. Those are
LinkedIn.
important to turn off, because those days they keep coming.
Yeah, they don't
And
stop.
they're and then they notify you of stuff that, like, doesn't it's not even, it's not something you might need to pay attention to right away or ever.
Yeah.
So it's tricky.
No, and the
It's
annoying
tricky.
part is all the subscription emails you get, right? It's like you can unsubscribe every day. And
Mhm.
then I'm interrupting my entire day for like Office Depot to tell me that there's a sale on printer paper. So it's just learning to do things that don't interrupt your day. Because when I'm focused, I'm like, let me just work through it. I don't need to suddenly shift
Be distracted.
concentration.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
distraction. Yeah.
it is. And it takes
Yeah.
away from what you need to do. So being able to change, I mean, moral of this whole episode is being able to change habits that make you feel supported, whether it's learning to take deep breaths and recognize these emotions and how you're going to move through them, or learning to schedule some self care practices into your day and set some boundaries so that you protect yourself and your space. Kevin, you've been absolutely amazing. As we are wrapping up, do you have some advice for maybe a teen listening to this who's thinking, no one's talked to me about this before, and I don't know where to begin, but I want to start building healthier habits to support me and my mental health.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that the one thing I could say is, you can find me at lifecoachkevin.com, and I'm happy to chat with anybody that wants to start to learn more about themselves and build awareness and figure out how you can be the best version of yourself, how you can design your life to fulfill your vision. If you're not clear on your vision, let's talk about that. Let's talk about who you want to be, and what your life, what you want it to look like. There's so life is short, but also life is very long, and it's a journey. And there are going to be really great days, and there are going to be some days where things aren't so great. Um, but to be able to control your thoughts so that you keep going is the important part. Keep going. Don't stop. Take deep breaths. Everything's going to be fine. Everything is just how it's supposed to be. So just keep going and do the hard thing. And when you hear a negative limiting belief in your mind, that's that your internal narrator is telling you you're not good enough or you can't do something. You just be aware that that little voice is there, and take that thought that you can't do it and tell yourself, you know what, you can do it. And with practice, you might be the best at it. Go on and don't stop.
Thank you so much for listening to Normalize the Conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. This podcast is an initiative of Inspiring My Generation, focusing on normalizing the conversation, bringing education and awareness to the forefront, and amplifying global voices to spark change and hope. Inspiring My Generation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization on a mission towards suicide prevention through awareness, conversation, education, and support. Connect with us on Instagram at Inspiring My Generation and visit our website inspiringmygeneration.org to learn more about our work and how you can make a difference.